Welcome to the instructional video for week 11. Thanks for joining me. Let's go over your objectives for this week. Starting with your language objective, this week again we're going to take a break from adding new ones and give you the opportunity to go back and review and work on some previously introduced language objectives. You can go back to using adjectives, using pronouns, any of the previous objectives, and just use this opportunity to continue to work those into your everyday conversations with your kids. For the cognitive objective for this week, we're again in the reason category, and the objective for this week is using trial and error. This is very close to the objective for problem solving. In fact, trial and error is a particular strategy for problem solving that kids employ. So you've likely already been working on this strategy. A great way to extend your marble run that you created as a project last week is to use it to work on sort of leveling it up. You can try to disassemble it, make it a little bit more complex, figure out how to get the marble to land in a different spot, maybe try to get it to wrap around the corner of your wall. And that's a fantastic example of using trial and error. Your child arranges it and tries something, and maybe it doesn't work, and then they have an opportunity to go back and learn from that, apply new skills, and try something different. Some other activity ideas for this objective are basically any sort of building or engineering toy. That could be Legos, Duplo blocks, Mega blocks, Magnetiles. Any sort of building toy is a fantastic trial and error strategy that they need to employ to make either whatever creation they've come up with their own imaginative creations, or to follow the instructions to make something specific. Lincoln Logs, any type of toy like that. Puzzles, that's another fantastic one. So again, any type of puzzles, jigsaw puzzles, floor puzzles, frame puzzles, peg puzzles, just get out all of the puzzles. Just needing to find the right piece to go in the right place and turning them in the right position to fit. These are fantastic trial and error activities for your child. Another really fun one, if you have a more active child, maybe it's a rainy day and you need to have a way to burn off some energy, is to play The Floor is Lava. And this is going to require your supervision to make sure that it's safe, but you have your child pretend that the living room maybe, or the family room, that the carpet or floor is lava, and they need to get from place to place without touching the floor. So you can help them strategize. How are they going to do that? Help them, do you need to move the ottoman? Do you need to place pillows on the floor to be stepping stones? You can fold up a blanket to be a balance beam perhaps, and again, closely supervised to make sure that nobody gets hurt. But this is a fantastic way for your child to strategize and solve that problem using trial and error of how to get from one side of the room to the other. Maybe they attempt something, they set up a course and they attempt it and they discover that, one of the gaps is too far and they need to figure out how to fix that. So it's a great trial and error activity that's a lot of fun. For literacy objectives for this week, we are all the way to the letter K. So identifying the upper and lowercase k and telling the sound of K, which is K. It also happens to be the hard sound of C, but K has no other sounds that it makes. It's just K. Of course, we have some situations that it's, your child may encounter or point out to you where it's silent, like when it comes at the beginning of a word before a letter N, like in the word knife or no or knob or not. And it can also be silent at the end of words where you see it with the double letter CK. So these are sort of exceptions, but for the most part, words like kite, you're going to always have that hard K sound. And you can acknowledge, once again, when you have two different letters that make the same sound, you want to distinguish between your child, identifying the written letter versus identifying the sound that it makes. So if your child points out to you an example for the sound K that happens to be something that starts with C, you might point that out, oh, that's great, that is the sound K. In this particular word, it starts with the letter C, which also says K. However, that is the sound of K. So you want to acknowledge that that was correct and use that as a learning moment for your child. Remind them that the letter C also makes the same sound, but still acknowledging. You don't want to say that that's incorrect, because that was the correct sound that they were looking for. And then, of course, when it's written, that's a different story. You want them to correctly identify what a K is when it's written. We also have an additional literacy objective for this week of asks and answers questions about a text. So you're, I'm sure, already incorporating this from some other activities that we've done where you read stories and you might ask your child questions about them, or your child discusses it with you and asks you some questions. So it's just a wonderful way to extend story time with your child. For our math objectives for this week, we again are sticking with the very simple objective of counting, this time to 90. So we're almost to this huge milestone of 100, and maybe you even build a little anticipation for your child and show them on the hundreds chart how close they're getting to counting to 100, assuming that they're not already doing so. So you can take this opportunity again as a little bit of a breather from having a bunch of new math objectives to work on some previous ones. We've already thrown a lot at you, so take your time, go back, revisit some, continue to work on these skills, make sure your child has mastered them, continue to work on incorporating math vocabulary into your time together, and just make sure that they have a strong grasp of counting. For fine motor objectives, we have one in-hand manipulation activity, one hand-eye coordination activity, one precision activity, and one finger isolation activity. Again, I hope you're getting an opportunity to kind of mix up these activities and give your child a wide range of different tasks to do that, maybe different ones, they work on the same fine motor skill, but they're different, in the way that they engage your child, and cognitively they're different to your child. So it's good to mix them up a little bit, and it prevents boredom and burnout on these tasks. For social emotional objectives, we have self-awareness, identifies some personal characteristics such as physical features, abilities, preferences, interests, or gender. So this is where your child begins to know themselves and be able to talk a little bit about what makes them unique. And then under the category of self-management, we have transitions from one environment or activity to another with support. For your fun project for this week, you have a shape scavenger hunt. So when you're out and about or around your home, locating different objects or signs that have the shapes that they've been learning, identifying those and telling their names. So there's a couple of ways that you can do this activity. You can either wait until Friday to do the whole thing and either go out and about, go to the grocery store, go to the park, and take pictures of your child, maybe pointing at different shapes, and then you come home and you can create, in whatever way you prefer, some kind of collage for your child to memorialize their scavenger hunt if you'd like. You could take these pictures and sort of create a digital collage and title them with the different names of the shapes that your child has found. Or you could simply check them off on a list, however you prefer to do it. The other way to do this is, if you do want to go to the trouble to make a collage and make that sort of a bigger project with your child, then you might start working on the actual scavenger hunt part in advance. You could just incorporate that into your weekly errands on whatever day you do them this week, and then save the sort of putting everything together part for Friday. So either way, you want to do it is fine, however much time you want to spend on it. Again, you could choose to just do this just simply around your home and do it as a simple checklist, or you could make it a much bigger project and do this, throughout the course of the week, and then make Friday sort of the day of sitting down and putting all of this together. So whichever way you want to do it and however much time you want to spend on it is entirely up to you. I hope you have fun with it this week, and we'll see you back for week 12.